Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. This is Louis Lautman, and you are about to be inspired and energized to take your business and your life to the next level. We are providing training that makes a difference in the lives of millions all around the world through our seminars, coaching programs, and video trainings just like this one. But before we get started with today's interview, we want to have a word from our sponsor. Supreme Outsourcing is an outsourcing company that wants you to delegate the work that you don't want to do, don't know how to do, or quite frankly, don't feel that it's worth your time. They want to do that work for you. If you're ready for more freedom, if you want to reduce your expenses, and you'd like to increase your revenues, give Supreme Outsourcing a call or send them an email or go ahead to their website and contact them. They do anything that can be done online or on the telephone. Anything from building a website to designing your graphics to your social media management to making outbound sales calls or appointment setting calls to taking inbound calls or customer service calls, doing data research, data entry, your bookkeeping, you name it. Supreme Outsourcing is the supreme choice in delegating your tasks to. If you want to become a lifestyle master, you need to start delegating more. And if you know me, you know that I say a master of lifestyle is one whose best friends don't know the difference between their work and their play. So this is Louis Lautman, and get ready for today's training. All right, everybody, welcome. It is Louis Lautman, and welcome back to the show. I'm really excited for today's guest. As many of you know, I have joined this organization called CEO Space. It's made a massive difference in my business and, quite frankly, in my life, and the community of people that I hang out with and spend time with, and the clients that I have, the way that I network. It's an amazing community of people. And about a year ago, I saw this guy walking around the forum. He was one of the top instructors over there, and he's wearing this conductor's outfit. And I thought it was a little strange, wasn't really sure what it was. And it turned out he was the next speaker. I want to introduce to you a gentleman that is going to talk to us today about transformational leadership and why it is so important for everybody in business today to really get this message and understand the core fundamentals that this man is going to be talking about today. I want to introduce to everybody Mr. Hugh Ballou. How are you, Hugh?
I'm great, Louis. Thank you for inviting me for this interview. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Listen, for some of the people who watch this show on a regular basis, they might have an idea what CEO Space is, but that's the place that we met. You want to just give them, your little spiel on what that place is?
It's an incredible community. It's sort of business acceleration in a week. You come with an idea and it grows, and you're with people who understand how to be an entrepreneur. You're with people who have some of the secrets that you need to fill in the gaps. And it's a culture of cooperation. We're so used to this competitive thing in business. It's where you cooperate with people. And I got to tell you, Louis, it's something I teach to all my clients in 4 continents. And first, they're afraid of it. But there's really something to cooperative capitalism. So the bottom line, it's a trade show. It's an educational event. It's networking. But it's really business acceleration. So I have benefited. I go to share, as you know, with others, but I get more out of it than anybody else.
Wow, you wouldn't think that because you're out there teaching and instructing everyone, and the way that the community is set up is a way that everybody's looking for something, and everybody's looking to help someone find what it is that they're looking for, and multiple times a day you'll hear, well, go talk to Hugh Ballou, go talk to Hugh Ballou, go talk to Hugh Ballou, and you certainly have made a name for yourself there and in the business world, Hugh. So I'm really excited to find out a little bit more about where you come from and what your core tenets are and what we can really share with this audience. But first I've got to ask you, so I saw you in that conductor's outfit and you give your presentation in your conductor's outfit. It's no secret that you're also a conductor. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. I spent 40 years actively as a conductor. I have a master's degree in choral conducting. And I worked in large venues, and I hired major orchestras like the Atlanta Symphony, the Florida Orchestra, Huntsville, and I've done guest conducting with choral and orchestral. And I learned a lot of things over that 40 years. And when I left that career, I started doing leadership development and organizational development. And people would say to me, well, you're a conductor. What do you know about leadership? And I would say, I'm a conductor. I know about leadership. So I have transposed all of the lessons that conductors know and they use every day and transpose those into business terms. You know, a conductor on a podium can't fake it. It's immediately obvious if you're a good leader or not. And people assume that conductors are dictators. You make it happen. You move your hands, you make it happen. Let me turn that around. We're totally at the mercy of the performers, the singers or the instrumentalists. Nothing happens until people respond. So think about your business. You got a board, you got a staff. You wave the baton. If they're not ready, they're not going to perform.
I think we were just talking about that. It's a great analogy, Hugh. I was just mentioning prior to this interview to Hugh that business is going great. It's booming. Everything is fantastic. And then every now and then, because my business is relying upon other people, there's a couple issues here and there. But boy, as a conductor, if you're not leading that orchestra or whoever it is that you're leading, my goodness, that shows up real quickly, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And you got this piece of music, the score, the conductor score. That's your strategic plan for your business. Everything that happens is in that plan. And on every music stand, they have an action plan, which is their piece of music. So when you give the downbeat, you say, we're going to work on Beethoven's Fifth. Let's start at the beginning. You give the downbeat, people know what to do. So as a leader, you create a culture of expectation of high performers. You got virtuosos in every seat. The choir is vocally trained and prepared. So when you give the downbeat, they know what to do. And you're not minimizing what they do. You're letting them perform on a high level because you're performing on a high level. All too often, we are afraid to deal with people because we don't want to hurt their feelings by saying, okay, trumpets, that's too loud. Let's take it down one notch. Well, you know what? They expect it. As a matter of fact, if you don't stop and fix it, you're perceived to be a poor leader. So there's lots of paradigms that can be transposed over, but we're not a dictator. We get to champion the vision. A leader has a vision. Nothing happens until people play, until people respond, and they function on a high level. So you can hear the same piece of music performed by two different choirs or two different orchestras. One can be mediocre, and one can be exceptional and exciting. The difference is the leadership. It's the same with businesses. So it's the vision of the leader, the skill of the leader, and the culture and the system you put in place. There's a system in music. So I teach transformational leadership not only as a skill, but it's a system that you install into your business.
Wow, that's amazing. And I know we're going to get real deep into transformational leadership, and I know you've got some core governing principles. But what is transformational leadership? Now, listen, I'm in the transformation business, and I study transformation all the time, but someone who's watching this video and they're thinking, all right, I'm running my business and here's this guy talking about transformation leadership. It sounds interesting, but what's going to cause me to watch the rest of this interview? Why is transformational leadership? Why is that so important, and what is it?
Everybody has ideas. Only 3% of the population actually do something about them. And I'm sure that's you, Lewis, because you're a high performer. 3% actually transform their idea into reality. That's a leadership skill. Leaders know, number one, they get things done. Leaders know how things get done, and leaders influence others. So if you take that forward, you've got a vision. You're going to transform that vision into reality. But over and above that, transformational leadership is a style of leadership. Starts with you, and then it's scalable. You can scale it to a multinational company because it's a culture. Take that orchestra analogy. People show up. They know what time to be there. They know what to do. They know exactly what to do when the conductor says, I want this. So you've created this culture. And so transformational leadership is a culture. Now, on one side of the spectrum, you have over here the autocratic leader, the charismatic leader. It's about them. Well, maybe people don't care about you, but it's about them. You do it my way. I make all the decisions. Well, today in business, you need a lot of skills. You have a lot going on. You're the bottleneck over here. You can't do it all. Besides, maybe you're good at some things, but you're not good at everything. On the other side of the spectrum, 180 degrees, is transformational leadership. It's about the vision. It's about you deciding, this is what I'm good at. I'm going to do this. I'm going to delegate. So learning how to delegate, you have to decide what's appropriate to get rid of. So first and foremost, it's the vision. You've got to be really clear. That music's got to be written down. It's got to be really clear. You delegate it. This is what I'm not going to do. This is what I do. This is what I don't do. You model excellence, you model ethics, you model high standards. And if you have children, well, your children learn from you good things and bad things. Well, your staff, your colleagues, your collaborators, they're going to do what you do. So you model excellence in what you do. You provide support, you provide information, and you're not the charismatic leader, but you are the champion. You encourage people. That's transformational leadership in a nutshell. And if people don't intuitively think that way, when they really begin thinking that way, it's how to get more done with less of you. You use the best of you, and you build leaders on teams. That's the bottom line. You build up leaders. You help them be satisfied. You pay people to come to work. They come to work because they get a paycheck. What really makes them want to perform on a high standard is job performance. So you create the culture where your really good oboe player can be the virtuoso. And guess what? They look good, but you look good, and the symphony's good. So it's a win-win for everybody. And the delegation piece is really, really critical. We get people in, and we tell them what we want, and then we tell them how to do it. You don't hire the very best oboe player for your orchestra and then tell them how to play the oboe. That makes no sense. They'll leave. So it's the same thing. You get the very best team, and then you let them do what they can do. Get out of their way. Doesn't mean that you lose any control. So there's a transparency about leadership that's really powerful. So Louis, it's a style, it's a system, a style of leadership and a system, and it's a collaborative sense where you can get more done.
Yeah, absolutely love it. Get more done by doing less. And you're absolutely right. When you hire the oboe player, you don't teach them how to play the oboe, right? And I guess that comes down to bringing on the right team, as you mentioned. Do you ever have anybody in the orchestra who doesn't show up to work or who decides to leave early? I mean, does that ever happen?
That's part of the culture. You show up, you're ready to go. When the downbeat's at noon, you're ready. You're tuned, you got your music, you're ready to go. Downbeat's at noon. It's a culture. They show up, they're ready. The downbeat, that's when you start. And then it goes, now it's the director's prerogative and duty to be done on time. You got union musicians that say if you got a 2-hour gig, 12 to 2. At 2:01, you're paying overtime, or they leave. So it's the leader's responsibility to fit the work into the time allotted. And it's really not that hard if you plan. I struggle with so many different leadership books and different systems. Most of them were kind of head knowledge. I developed a system that's practical. It isn't academic, it's useful. It's what's worked for me for 40 years and works for all my clients. And so I boil it down to 4 leadership principles, Louis. And these are my manifestation of transformational leadership. Hugh is the conductor. So let me give you a quick overview, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to pull out my pen, and I'd love to hear what these 4 tips are.
4 principles. If you can master these 4 principles, you can lead any organization anywhere. So number 1, the conductor has to know the score. And in business talk, that's the foundations. What is your vision? Clearly articulate your vision. Part of the foundation is your skill set. If you're the conductor, you got to be prepared. You know the score, but you really have to have it together. Because what you get is what they see. And in business, what you get is what people see from you and what they hear from you. So be very clear on your vision. Have your skills together. Vision, mission, goals. This is where we're going, folks. So number 1, know what you're about. Know the score. Have your foundations.
Well, let's break this down before we go on to numbers 2, 3, and 4. How do you suggest, let's say someone's been in business for the last 5 years or 10 years, or maybe they're just starting their business. How do you put that vision together? How do you build that foundation? You know, how do you know the score?
The score is, we are constantly looking at our client base. We're constantly looking at our business. And I suggest that people have a plan and they have a regular schedule, at least on 6-month basis, maybe quarterly. Evaluate, refine, and recommit.
Yeah, that's wonderful. How long does it take someone to evaluate? Does that happen in a minute, in an hour, in a day, a week? I mean, how long do you evaluate for?
Do it on a regular basis. You incorporate it into your process. And so it's not something that takes energy from you, brings energy to your process. And actually, it saves you time. And so you're buying extra time because you're really backing up and finding what's not working. And we tend to get in the rut and say, we've got a plan, we've got plan. Okay, maybe there's parts that were really good when you made it, but maybe the world's changed. The whole world changed September 11th, and when we had the airplane crashes, we had to go back and refine. The world changes every day. Well, we change. We learn new things. So it's really good to go back and fine tune. So the orchestra is always tuning. So you go back and you fine tune so that you make sure the skills, the processes, the objectives, whatever it is, that you're still on target. You make those refinements and then you recommit for the next 6 months. So it's an organic process. You begin, people say, well, I got it in my head, I got a vision, I got some goals, but I'm not going to write it down because I want to stay flexible. Well, baloney. If it's not written down, it's a dream. And there's a certain fact in music. We take those things, we learn the scales. We're really good because we've practiced all these things that are ordinary. So when we're performing, we're putting all of our energy toward the important things, the interpretation, making that tone, building ensemble. In business, we need to put those things into a container. Here's the vision, here's the systems. So when we're going to work, we're putting our brain and our energy on making those important decisions, making those contacts, and what we're best at. We're not out those little fires because we didn't think of it ahead of time. So the foundation is putting those ordinary things, those administrative things, those routine things into a system so that you're not spending your energy doing those every day. They're happening because you've put them in place. So I recommend that leaders set goals every year. Short-term goals are 12 months or less. You look at them constantly, weekly, monthly, you evaluate them. Set new goals for each year, but know where you're going 3 to 5 years and tweak those. And you start where you are. I've been in business for 10 years this year. I've set new goals for my business because I've learned new things. And if I'm not learning new things, I'm probably dead.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned something a couple of times here when you were talking about this. Someone might be listening to it and they're like, oh boy, I've got to evaluate, refine, recommit. This sounds like it's going to be a lot of work, but you said that it doesn't take away your energy. It brings you energy. So talk about that. So for the person who just heard you and they're like, oh, this sounds like work that I don't want to do, talk about why they're going to want to do this and what it's going to do for them as a leader.
People say, I don't have time for all that. I said, well, you got time if you don't do it right, go back and do it over. So really, it gives you energy because it gives you clarity. If you make time to look at things and refine them, it gives you clarity. You can then evaluate it. You can recommit, and it gives you new energy. If you do it with your team, you don't feel like you're on the treadmill. And if you're not putting on your calendar time to think, time to evaluate your plan on a weekly basis, there's something wrong. We're running full bore, and if we're not going to spend some time regrouping, and that's my fourth principle, which we'll get to, if we're not spending time evaluating, then we're not working at our highest level of efficiency. And you're probably wasting a lot of time and energy. And you probably don't have time off, and you're probably not having any fun. So it's a discipline, and you put it together one little step at a time. Here's a trick. At the end of your day, keep a little journal, open it up. Look at your day, write down a tip. There's some time that escaped between 11 and 12 that really hurt me. And I did not get as much done. So you learn from yourself. Look at your day, evaluate your day, look at tomorrow. Here's a tip for your readers, for your listeners. If you break it down into baby steps, and I call these DVDs, daily value deliverables. If you define 3 things you're going to do every day, you'll get closer to your goal. And it takes some thinking power. So it is hard work, but it's in little 5, 10 minute, 15 minute segments. At the end of the day, look at how you did, plan tomorrow, put it away. You're thinking about it all night. You get up, you look at your DVDs, you're probably already working on solving them. And you check them off at the end of the day and you do it for the next day. 15 minutes. It could save you an hour. It could save you more time. And you got to think of things that aren't going to take hours. It might be 5 minutes to put in your day or 10 minutes. But if you do 3 of those a day, that's 15 a week, that's 60 a month. You think you wouldn't make some progress by doing that? Putting little baby steps in your day? It's a discipline of, we eat 3 times a day, so why couldn't we put a little thinking time in our day? It's food for the brain.
Yeah, beautiful. So you got to know the score. Build your foundation, know the vision, I love the whole idea of evaluate, refine, recommit. I think that's so important. And the whole idea here is that it gives you and your business energy and new momentum. So that's fantastic. So what's the second one?
It's when I did a concert, I didn't want to have a bunch of lousy musicians, so I hired the best. Like I said, I hired the Atlanta Symphony, Florida Orchestra. I hired the best players. I prepared the very best choir, and we put together a great concert. So in terms of business, it's build and maintain high-level relationships. People who you think are better than you. You bring in the top players because you become more and more like them, and you learn from each other. You're the visionary, you're the leader. You bring in a high-performance team, you articulate your vision to them, and then you let them develop the action plans. You're still guiding it, but you're letting them use their skill set. So we don't bring that oboe player in and tell them everything to do. We say, here's the music. I want you to use your skills and interpret it, but here's how we're going to put it together. You don't lose a bit of control. So you build the best team, and so you find the skill sets you need, you find the relationships you need, you build the culture of expectation in the relationships, and you teach this leadership style to them. It's not about them, it's about the vision. We're on a journey together. So you begin to learn it yourself, and you teach it as the leader. You teach it to the other players in you're going to orchestrate success in your business. So you create that culture of high level expectations. And as you perform up, will inspire others to perform up. So if it's not working, if your team's not performing, the first thing to do is to look in the mirror.
That's a big one. Look in the mirror. Take the ownership. So you talk about hiring the best, and I love hiring the best. How about for that business owner that's out there? They might have 3, 4, 5 employees, and they realize, all right, I need to put in another leader to manage these people, or I just can't do this anymore on my own. Maybe it's the startup entrepreneur who's looking to hire their first person. And, they might not have the budget for the very best. What would you suggest to someone like that?
There are some young entrepreneurs out there, people that are entrepreneur minded but don't want to have their own business, but understand the nature of entrepreneurs. So you're going to create part of your foundation is the value. What is the values I have for the core values for my business? It's also what's the culture that I want, and you want a certain culture. If you're in the healthcare, the nutritional healthcare side, you don't want a bunch of people that want to do pills or taking pills. You want people that understand how to eat right. So you want people who they aren't overweight. They don't drink Diet Coke. They are people who are healthy. So they understand the culture of healthy eating, healthy living, exercising. So you define the culture. What is the value? What is the culture? When you bring people onto your team, you want to make sure that you're aligned culturally and philosophically. You're also going to install the same philosophy of leadership. So it's about the culture and the style of leadership. So you're going to recruit people who, in some cases, might be nothing but potential. One day, I have nothing but potential, and I work for low wages, but I continued to function up because I could see possibilities for myself. So you want to get good people, and you want to pay them fairly. That doesn't mean you got to start out with an executive and pay them top dollar. You might find somebody that's got the skill set and understands the philosophy that you can nurture into a high performer on your team. So there's more than one right answer there.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. I was interviewing a good friend of mine the other day, Gary Ying of eWeb Marketing. He is the #2 company in the whole country of Australia for company culture and happy workplace, best place to work. And #1 always is Google. And then his company, Web Marketing, over the last 10 years is always ranked every year as one of the happiest places to work at. So what's the best way for a business owner to identify who are these top performers that meet their company culture? Because I also agree, and I think that's such a major distinction of hiring the right people. Getting people who fit into your culture, because they might be able to do the job, but if they don't fit the culture, it probably isn't a good fit for the long run. That's my experience. So tell me a little bit about identifying these best people. Because real quick, I remember hearing Donald Trump in an interview one time. He said, if you hire the best and you pay them the best, you'll be the best. He has the opportunity to pay people the best. some people don't always have that opportunity. So how do you identify where these people are that will fit into your culture, that are the best?
I do work with different kinds of organizations hiring people, and it being really clear on defining your culture, and that's a written statement. But also be clear on what you're expecting people to do, and then create questions that are open-ended questions. For instance, you ask them, here's a situation that needs to be resolved. It's a problem to resolve. How would you address that problem? How would you solve it? Or if you're hiring people to work under you in this company, what would you look for in terms of values and personal commitment and skills? So you can ask open-ended questions, and here's the important thing. Listen. Listening is a leadership skill. And you observe, because 7% of what we communicate is in the words. The rest of it, facial expressions, there's all of this, mannerisms. So you ask open-ended questions and you pay attention. And it's okay for silence to happen. They finish talking, and you continue to watch their reaction. When we audition for a choir and orchestra, the first thing they're going to do is something they've prepared and they're really good at it. Then we ask them to sight read, we ask them to talk about things, and we have them sing a part with somebody else. So we let them play long enough that we can observe, because they start letting down their guard after we talk long enough. So make sure that you cover, don't assume anything. Don't assume if you're replacing somebody and you want new skills that the new person has all the skills of the old person. That's a trap to get into. So be sure that you qualify their skills, you look at references, you ask people who aren't on their reference list, you ask open-ended questions, and you pay attention to the answers. But you're looking for how to fit your culture, how do they resonate with your values, and how will there be a personal fit. There's a personal chemistry piece to this as well. And you really need to have a one-on-one with somebody long enough to discern that. So you don't have to like them. But it's sure easier to work with somebody that you do like, so that chemistry has to be there. But you want to make sure they resonate with your culture and have a skill set. And if they're a young person and early in their career, what you can afford might be really good for them. But you create a culture where they can grow in the company and grow in the pay, and you articulate that to them. And they're part of the productivity, so that's part of the reward. We're paid a salary, but we really function because we have job satisfaction. So there's two pieces to this.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that. I think you're right, and I think that makes a big difference is when you do have that one-on-one time, and it's not just a 15, 20-minute interview, but you actually get to talking, and I think you said let their guard down. You get to, they really do, I want to say expose themselves, but you really do get to see who they are over time, and I suppose spending that time. What if you don't have that time and all of a sudden sales are booming and you need to hire 15 people or 10 people, or maybe you just need to hire 2 people and you don't have that time? What do you do then?
It's better not to have somebody than to have the wrong person. It costs you a lot of money to have the wrong person, and then to fire them and rehire somebody, you got a lot of downtime, you got training time. It's very expensive. It's a given. You've got to spend some time with them. And we're not talking a whole day. You can learn a whole lot in a 30, 45-minute interview, and probably have a follow-up interview if you're interviewing several people, because you'll learn something from each person. Suppose you have 4 applicants, and you go through and you find your top 2. I would go back and re-interview the top 2, and you'll ask questions and dig a little deeper. And you might find some things when you do their references. You might find some things that will tweak some questions as well. You really don't want to come to work 2 days later and say, oh my word, I hired the wrong person. That's very costly.
Well, Hugh, that leads me to this next one. Before we get to principle number 3, I think it was just this last CEO space. I was watching your presentation, and this was great. You were talking. I know that you're really active with your church, and you do a lot of volunteer work, and you're a busy guy. But you were talking about leading volunteers, and I think you were even mentioning what happens when you need to fire someone who's not getting paid. Can you just share just a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, terminating somebody in any organization there's a lot of stress around that. You know what? They know it's not. They know it's not working. You know it's not working. It's just getting the elephant out of the room. And sometimes when I've said to people, it's not working, I think you'd be really good doing something else, and suggest a couple of things, but this one's not working, so I've already got the replacement. And sometimes they are very relieved. And people in a company, they're walking on eggshells because they know it's not working, but they don't know what to do about it. Now, you're the leader. You're the one that needs to do something about it. And it's costing you money. So deal with it as early on as you can. And one way to deal with it is to have some benchmarks. Here's what I need you to do in the next month. We're not performing up to standard. Here's what I language, not what you need to do. Here's what I need to have happen. So you ask for the following, and it's tangible, measurable. And then each week you follow up with them. And then at the end of the month, it's really obvious they're not making it if they just can't make the grade. And you've coached them, you've given them opportunities, and you're saying, it's just not working out, and it's okay. It's going to come to an agreement and the relationship. And that's okay. It happens. Doors revolve, open and close. New people come and go. So it's not working. Everybody knows it. So you're the one that's got to step up because you're the leader. It's your business. So deal with it before it bites.
Yeah, I love that. It's just everybody knows the elephant's in the room. It's just a matter of getting that elephant out of the room. I like that analogy.
He said to me, I had a guy who worked remotely, and he resigned with a fax. I quit. Boom. And the guy was so surprised. I said, didn't you have any clues? He said, yeah, I did have some clues. So when you got that inkling, deal with it because it'll bite you.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, so what is principle number 3?
And before I go on, we're managing our own anxiety. There's anxiety around that. There's no reason for that. And so get a book called Tao or something or Feng Shui or something that helps you manage your anxiety. And if you're anxious, it's going to spread to everybody, and you can't think clearly. So do something to make sure that you manage your anxiety as well as you can. Leadership number 3 is systems. When we rehearse for a concert, if we rehearse badly, we perform badly. So my principle is rehearse for success. So you create systems that inspire excellence. You actually build an excellent DNA into your organization. For instance, if you have boring, unproductive meetings, Lewis, have you ever been to a boring, unproductive meeting?
Not one that I've ran, but I've been to them in the past.
I am so good that you didn't run one. That does my heart. So we have bad meetings and we expect good results. Now, tell me that makes sense. But time and time again, we have bad meetings. And here's a tip: never use an agenda for a meeting. Get that?
I think you said never use an agenda for a meeting. That goes against what a lot of people might think.
Anti-intuitive. The agenda is the killer of productivity in meetings. So let me give you the reason for that. The agenda is what we're going to do for activity. I don't know about you, but I got enough activity in my life. Here's an example. We're going to talk about marketing. Well, so what? So let's turn it around. We're going to create deliverables. Deliverables are measurable outcomes. So we got a 90-minute meeting. At the end of that, we're going to define the top 5 marketing strategies for our business that will increase our sales by 20% and our profit by 25%. You see the difference? You're actually driving for tangible results. You can talk about marketing, so what? What we want to do is walk out of here having done this. So as the leader, it requires you think about what is it we're going to accomplish. And so if people say to me, oh, it's just a semantical change. Well, baloney. It's a philosophical change. You're changing the paradigm. We're not getting together and talking about stuff. We're actually creating tangible results. That will empower your team. Nobody, even if they're being paid for it, nobody wants to go to unproductive meetings. They hate it. And it kills the team spirit. Number 1 team killer, bad meetings. So if you say to yourself, no more boring meetings, that's good. So that's an example of a system. Another system is we create job descriptions, position descriptions for people. Not all businesses do it, but they should. A position description defines the role and responsibility. Okay, so what? What are they going to accomplish? So the companion document is performance expectations. What are the measurable outcomes? 30, 60, 90 days. You have marks to measure their performance on. You work it out together. They write it up, give it to you, you approve it. Once a week you have a power meeting, 5 minutes. How you doing on this week's deliverables? You need help, you need coaching. It's tough. You as the leader, you create touch points throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, so you know what's going on. You don't have to be in the room to know what's going on, and you don't have to do it. So you teach people to function on a higher level because you function on a higher level, and you've built a system that they understand. It's going to be very obvious when they don't function on a high level. So create systems for orchestrating success.
Yeah, I'm all about systems. That's one of the many things that I stand for, implement in my business, as well as teach other business owners that they must have. Let me ask you this, because you were talking about meetings, and what you said could, some people might think, well, like you said, it's anti-intuitive. How about putting a time frame on a meeting? How are you now? Okay, this meeting is 1 hour, or maybe people have appointments, after the meeting that they have to get to. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
It's essential to start and end on time.
Okay.
So you don't wait for somebody to show up who's not there. You start on time. And here's the secret to getting on time. If it's a 2 o'clock meeting in the afternoon, suppose it's going to be a 90-minute meeting from 2 to 3:30. Announce the meeting is going to start at 2:01, and it's going to finish at 3:27. It's your responsibility to be done. So you plan with the end in mind. You plan the deliverables, and you go back. It's going to take so much time to brainstorm all the marketing. You're going to sort the ideas, and you're going to put them in priority. Then you're going to create the action items, and it's going to take 30 minutes. So you plan it. And guess what, Lewis? Here's the other tip. Only plan 2/3 of the time. So if it's a 90-minute meeting, you plan 60 minutes of activity. Because Leland Van der Waal said, work expands to fill the time allotted. And so you plan 60 minutes of activity. Why? Because it takes longer. You're going to be done at 3:27. You've committed to that. So that's really essential. You start on time with who's there. You review the deliverables, and you say, first is this. You tell people how you're going to get there, and then you get it done, and you review at the end. Here's the assignment. Make sure you do this. Make sure everybody understands, and you're setting the deliverables for the next meeting. Work doesn't happen in meetings. You plan and evaluate the work, and it's an accountability. You work between meetings. So you're rehearsing for success because you're doing this. So you define the outcomes in the meeting, and you specifically set start here and end here. And here's the trick. I run meetings for a living. People hire me to come facilitate meetings because I get a lot done. Nobody in 25 years has ever been upset when we've adjourned a meeting early. So, when you're done, let them go. So, it's that empowering principle.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I remember a while back I was playing with this idea, and as you mentioned, starting the meetings on odd times, like 3:37. It's going to end at 4:26, and I stopped doing that for a while, but who knows? Maybe it's another thing I'll pick up, just to be really outspoken and rigorous on the management of the time, and in terms of having the meetings stand out. Like, wow, most meetings start at on the hour, or on the 30 minutes, or maybe on the 15 minutes. But I don't want to talk about meetings so much more, but you do mention systems as number 3. Is there any kind of system, you mentioned a couple there, that like every business has to have no matter what, whether they're a retail shop, a wholesale shop, an online business? I mean, are there some kind of systems that like every business needs to have?
You need a strategy. You need a strategic framework. You have to know where you're going and what the moving parts are. And you need to know every day if you're in profit or loss. You can't wait till February 10th to get January's P&L to know if you made money or not, because it's too late to fix January and usually too late to fix February. So you want to have some balanced scorecard or some rubrics in place that you can measure, and you know all the time where you're up or down, and you address it every day. So the effective business leader addresses things as they come up on a continuing basis, because this is your bread and butter, your livelihood, your future. You're going to sell it. It's your retirement.
Yeah, I love the idea. There's probably a lot of people out there that aren't measuring. I mean, how can you expect what you're not inspecting? I mean, if you're doing it once a year, or there probably needs to be some more measurement systems, and probably setting the proper expectation of where that needs to be. In terms of performance, and I've heard that good businesses have good systems, and then they hire the right people to manage those systems. What if you have someone that you think fits the culture and is typically a top performer, but for some reason they're not performing? The oboe is out of tune, or whatever it is. What do you do there? And you're not ready to fire them yet. How do you get them back into the culture, performing the system that they are for the business?
We have conflict that arises in any organization. Wherever you've got people, you're going to have some conflict, unless you're working in a cemetery. So that's the sign of creative energy. And so we don't eliminate conflict, we manage conflict. And so if somebody's underperforming and the expectations are not really clear, there's a real big potential for conflict that ultimately costs money, time, and damages relationships. And if you've got somebody you think has potential, you want to continue to nurture that. So at the first sign that there's something out of order, you deal with it. I don't understand, I'm confused by this. Tell me how I can help you perform up to standard. So the language you use is inviting. And one of the culture things that we share from CEO space is we don't criticize people's language, we plus it. We don't criticize the performance, we plus it. So it's a permissive society. We give everybody permission to plus, which is adding value. Let me plus what you're doing. Here's a concept. Now, it's a two-way street. As a leader, we have expectations that we need to share with our employees. They need stuff from us. So transparency from the leader is a powerful motivator. If you're willing to be transparent. Now, I had a leader, a real power guy, said, I've got some things I'm not very good at, and I'm going into my team meeting. How do I do that? And I said to him, well, just throw it out to your team and see who will step up. And he said, I can't tell them I have weaknesses. And I let a little silence go, and I said, and you think they don't already know? Showing. So this transparency thing is really, it's counterintuitive, but it's very powerful. Now, you don't need to go whining and saying you got all these things they don't know about. Just say, here's what I'm really good at, and here's what I need you to do because it's not my number one skill set, and that's why I hired you. And that's down the line. So you move toward the conflict. If somebody is not performing, that's an opportunity to coach them. You want to try to save it if you can. And remember, some people are nothing but potential, and you're going to help them be potential. So you're investing in them. And you know what? They'll be more loyal, they'll be more productive, and they'll be a really good spirit. Leadership is about, you always look for opportunities to build those relationships. That's number two. But number three, you do it through effective systems. And you deal with the conflict as soon as it's apparent. Because it doesn't get better. It gets worse, and pretty soon it's nuclear.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I remember hearing a story one time, something about a gentleman working for a company loses $1 million or so for a company. The next day he's called into his boss's office and he says, well, I guess I'm getting fired. And the boss says, fired? We just invested $1 million into your training. Right? So, yeah, really is about coaching and feedback and getting them back on speed. So that's a really good one. So what's the fourth principle on transformational leadership, Hugh?
There are rests in music. They're there for a very specific reason. So value the rests. It's about creating balance. And it shows up in different ways. We have a lot of things going on. You have several businesses, I have several. We have multiple priorities, so we need to balance those. We've delegated things. We want to be sure that we know how to follow up. So that's one sense of balance. Another sense of balance, we do have a personal life and we do have a business life. So I like to have recreation time and I like to have work time. So balance from that perspective. And I'm a person. I'm a spiritual person. I'm a physical person. So I manage my health and my diet, my spirituality. There's all the aspects of me, physical, mental. I want to make sure that I'm the best I can be. So part of that is putting on my calendar when I'm going to play, when I'm going to rest, when I'm going to think. And if you think of your week, and your production consists of a lot of different components, and the tasks that you do might be only 50% or 20% of your week. Part of it might be recruiting. Part of it might be mentoring. Part of it might be team. You're working in the team. That's a specific part of leadership. You're working in a team. So you start looking at the percentage of your work week is spent on those things. Part of it is evaluation. So if you put in blocks of time, and you put in your calendar, you're dedicated to it. Musicians excel because they're disciplined. They practice every day. They're good at their skill set. Leaders need to practice every day and be good at their skill set. And we constantly review, revise, and update. It's part of your DNA. So the piece is creating those times. You put them on your calendar or they don't happen. So it's baby steps, one thing at a time. So the better disciplined we are, the better leader we can be and the better mentor we can be to our teams.
Absolutely. Yeah, one thing I find so important for my life is I schedule time actually to work out or to go running or to read a book or to sit out in the sun and do absolutely nothing. So I actually schedule that time. Let's say that you have a person, when you hire someone to play in the orchestra, they've probably been playing that cello their whole life and they probably love it. But the person that you have who's getting minimum wage, who's dealing with angry customers all day long, doing customer service, telling you why they want to cancel your service and why they hate the company. How does that person, how do you lead them? How do they achieve balance? How do they, not quit in such a tough position? And maybe for some companies out there, it's not customer service, it's something else. But when you have a really difficult position, as the CEO or as the leader, the manager, you are not necessarily doing all the jobs that are in your company, but some of them can be quite challenging. So what would you suggest to the leader who really wants to impact the person who has that tough job in their company?
Well, you're dealing with difficult people, and there's one of our members in CF Space that has a book on dealing with difficult people. So read up on how to deal with difficult people. But sometimes we can be difficult. So it might be self-awareness too. Well, and to reframe what the angry customer is saying. And many times, I shared with you I work in the church, and many people would come to me angry, and I would just kind of listen to them and say, I understand what you're saying. Then there would be a different level of conversation. We don't get on the defensive. We don't fight them. We just listen to them. Part of that is listening and let them unload on you, and not taking it personally because it's not about you. And then as
I want to pause you right here. I think this is such a big issue, and it's important enough for me to not go to the next topic yet. As you're saying it, talk a little bit about that actually, where you might have someone, and it's not something I enjoy doing, okay? But there are times when a client will call me, and what I have learned is that they just want to get it off their chest. And it might take 15, 20 minutes, and I'll just sit there and listen. And by the end of it all, there's not even a solution I need to come up with. It's one of those, all right, anyway, I'm really happy. Thanks a lot. And that's the end of it. Can you just maybe touch on that for a moment?
Right. And they didn't hurt you. And you realize it isn't about you. So framing it is really important. And even the minimum wage person, if they learn to not get it on them, don't get anxious because of that. Because it clouds your own thinking. Once you become defensive, they've unloaded on you and they've been angry, and they'll hang up the phone and they're done. They're great. Now you've got it all inside you. It's not worth it. And so realize it's not about you. And even if they're yelling at you because they think it's you, it's not about you. And as I let people talk, I find out, well, my wife died a year ago and this is the anniversary coming up. Or, the IRS has sent me a levy notice. And, there's a stress thing going on in their life. And it's just coming out silent. But here's, as a salesperson, and I had lots of sales training and had sales jobs, and I currently sell myself as a leadership strategist. But a salesman learns to reframe an objection as a request for information. And so you need to listen enough to really get that. What is it they need? And so part of it may be, let me see if I understand you, let me repeat back what I heard you say. And also that silence piece that I mentioned a while ago, when you at the end of what they're saying, that you're not jumping right in with no silence. The silence validates that you've A, heard them, and B, you're thinking about it. And that's powerful. It's powerful. So you say, count to 5 or whatever. Say, let me think. So they know you're there. Okay, let me think a minute. And then here's what I understood you to say. And it's really helping them to cope with whatever they're coping with in terms of your business. It's B, building a relationship with a person as somebody who really cares. You could just hang up the phone and say, go away, I'll give you your money back. That doesn't, the angry customer tells 37 other people. You don't need that. And even if they quit or want their money back, they say, well, he was really fair with me. So you've still got a positive end. They're going to have a positive message. So we don't personally. We understand it might be about something else. We think analytically and make some offers. You want to come their direction. How can we solve this? What can we do to make this better? Ask them, because their solution might be a whole lot cheaper than the one you're thinking of. So what would make you happy, or what would make this better? Or what can I do to make this better? I mean, there's several questions you can respond to that, and they'll give you clues. They know what they want, so give them a chance. And so they might say, okay, I'm better, and so you thank them for they could have told somebody else. Be glad they're telling you, because they could go tell 37 other people. So number one, affirm the fact that you're glad they're talking to you. Thank you for bringing that up. It's good for me to know this, and I'm really interested in what you have to say. So you set this cultural expectation that you have really good customer service.
Mm-hmm. I'm practicing it there.
Some people who will never be happy.
Yeah. Tell me, would you say that it's some people's normal reaction when they're getting dumped upon to give the exact same energy and fight it almost? Talk to me a little bit about it, because I've been inside of that, and I find myself doing exactly what you're saying, Hugh, is, calming myself, taking a breath, knowing that they're just, airing their dirty laundry, and just sit there inside of it. It's not on me, it's just kind of being with it. So tell me, because I think people watching that, they're like, yeah, well, that customer every time when they tell me that, and they get all riled up, and, you can see the tension in their body almost. Tell me, or the audience, basically about why that is, what they should do, because I think that key distinction is so important, because my belief is, and I've seen it, relationships end right there in that moment when you said it. If you merely reframe that, it's a request for information, and a sale can be made. Now, the sale within itself is saving the client and making them so happy that they tell more people and refer you business. So talk just a little bit more about that moment when things could go this way or they could go that way. Because my belief is that's such an important moment that could really shape the direction of the rest of the relationship.
Amen. And people sometimes feel really bad. And I've had people double up and order more. Well, let me have two of those. I want two telemarketers marketing on my whatever in your business.
Yeah.
So they're going to feel bad, and you've been really nice, you've been really patient, and what you're doing is moving toward the conflict. You're showing up. You're staying calm. You're managing your own anxiety, because, like you said, it escalates, and you don't have to play that game. They can be really agitated, and you say, stay calm. Manage your own anxiety, you think better, and it's not contagious. So you can continue to escalate that conversation. And if they're going to quit, they're going to quit. You don't want to make it any worse. They might feel better and say, oh, yeah, okay, I'm going to stay with you. Actually, I'm going to buy more. They might think of other things to ask. You're building a relationship. And so realize it's not about you. Manage yourself. You know what you can provide. You know the value of your services. You're trying to understand what they're not getting. So there's a gap in understanding, or a gap in what they feel like they were promised and not getting. So you're looking for those gaps. They will tell you if you pay attention long enough, if you ask questions. So there's a period of time that they need to unload. And so setting an expectation at the front of the call, I have 30 minutes to talk, I have 15. Whatever your time window is. If it's a really important client, you want to say, it's going to take, I have a window of 30, is that enough time? We could certainly schedule longer if need be. And then there may be part A and part B. So there's always a follow-up with these. You call back or check back in a week, say, how you doing on that? Have we done better? Let me have some information. So number one, make yourself. Show up, be present. As a matter of fact, I've called people and I've sensed there's a problem. And I I start the conversation. And so, and then they're, oh yeah, I've been meaning to call you. And so that's really good. And the fact that I said, I'm sensing something, would you tell me what it is? So the fact you've cared enough to call them, it puts it on a whole different basis, different context. So manage yourself, be calm, and listen. Those are the primary tips. Because many times there's some people who are antagonists. They're never going to be happy, and they quit.
Absolutely. Hugh, this has been absolutely amazing. I know that you have some special gifts for everybody, but before we tell them about the special gifts, let's say someone's been listening to this and they actually want to work with you. How would somebody reach out to you?
Well, HughBallou.com is my main site. HUGHBALLOU is my main website about Hugh, the trainer, leadership developer, and there's a link to my blog. And there's all kind of leadership stuff. I blog every day, and I put out stuff that either will help make people happy or irritate them. But it'll make you think.
Okay. Hopefully, if they've enjoyed this, it might not irritate them too much. But even if it does, like you said, it'll make them think, I suppose.
Well, and also people are different places. I work individually with leaders, helping them build their skill set in a coaching context. And I believe that organizational development comes from the leader, the visionary leader. Some people aren't there financially. I put Hugh in a box. I have my leadership program, which is all of the stuff we talked about in depth, 25 modules, and it's called the Leader Accelerator. It's theleaderaccelerator.com. It's what I call the fast track to transformational leadership excellence. In over 90 days, every module that they get, you apply it. There's something useful you can apply right away. I don't want to wait till 3 months to do something. I want to read something today and do it tomorrow or now. So that's the whole context. I write for people like me. They're busy. You got 15 minutes today. You can read something. You get a principle. You can apply it right away. So that's the whole spirit of the leaderaccelerator.com. If they go there, I have gifts. Number one is that there's a free report I've written from the leadership perspective, how to build the business of your dreams. Now,
how to build the business of your dreams.
Yes, sir. You might. We were penalized in grade school for dreaming. Now we're entrepreneurs. We're supposed to dream. It's time to dream. So even if you've been in business 10 years, you got to dream. It's bigger, it's better, it's more profitable. You're working less, you're fishing more, whatever. So the dream is always out there. So how to build it, that's a free report. So you sign up, you get the free report. It's a PDF download. And then you're an autoresponder. I have 4 videos on those 4 principles that you get for free. And an hour teleseminar on the drill down on more of these leadership things. And then there's an opportunity to buy the program, which is in a box, and it's normally $4.97. And for your listeners, I'm going to give a $100 discount coupon.
Wow, thank
you.
you.
Lewis L. If they put in I said it.
Yep.
Put in Lewis L, they get $100. It just takes it off the price.
And that'll be LOUISL. Some people spell it differently, but most people should know my name by now.
That's a secret code, Lewis L.
That's fantastic. So you're starting off the building the business of your dreams. Is that an ebook or is that a video?
It's an ebook.
Okay, fantastic. And then from there, you're going to give them a sequence of additional training videos.
Training videos. I mean,
and this is all free that you're giving away.
It's free, and a teleseminar. It's all free stuff. I got lots of free stuff, and I feel like I give away good content. People know that I know more stuff, and I do. So those are the principles applied, and if you get to the program and want to sign up, it's a $100 discount. And what I'm doing for the first 100 people, I have a $997 package of video trainings, which I'm including for free.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's 6 hours of in-depth training on all these principles, all transformational leadership. Some people learn by reading, some by other means. So I've created lots of different ways for people to learn. And I have a workbook on building high-performance teams that's included as well in that package. So for the first 100 people, those things, not only do they get the $100, but they get the extra benefits.
They get this $1,000. Oh, there it is. I'm not sure what that was, but $1,000 video training on top of that with the package, and I'm sure people can see that. I'm sure if you've gotten value out of this, we're going to have a link below that you can click on. It'll take you directly to Hugh's page. He's giving away a bunch of free gifts. You might as well take advantage of it. Join his mailing list. If you've resonated with this message, you're going to get some free training videos. And then when that offer comes out, he said he's going to give a $100 discount to my subscribers. So that's out there for you. This has been absolutely amazing, Hugh. I am really excited. I've taken away a lot that I'm going to immediately implement in my business. You rehashed some ideas for me of thinking about certainly some of the systems I can implement, and I just reminded myself of how important it is when people are what I call venting, to really just listen and not kind of turn into that conflict. And as you said, these are the ones who say, well, you know what, you've been great, I'm just venting and I'm going to buy another from you, because that really does happen, and it has happened, and it'll continue to happen. I think these are human nature principles that you're absolutely teaching. So, Mr. Hublou, it's been an absolute pleasure. For those of you who have not been to CEO Space, you have an opportunity. You can meet Hugh in person if you want. He's probably going to be coming to the next several. He teaches at pretty much every one of them, and he'll be the guy walking around in the orchestra tuxedo, the conductor's outfit. And at least now you'll know why he's wearing that. And then when you see his presentation, you'll absolutely know. I think you said, Hugh, isn't the conductor the only one who can turn his back to the audience?
That's right. Yeah, the conductor works with his back to the audience. And, I've worked with some of the best conductors in the world. And every one of them, here's a tip people can take away, every one of them is working on their skill set in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. So finding the end of leadership skill is like finding the end of the internet. You continue to look for it because it's always expanding. So always work on yourself. Always work on your skills. It's a joy and a pleasure to be with you, Louis. Thank you for inviting me into this series.
Yep, not necessarily a destination, but it's a journey. Transformational Leadership with Mr. Hublou. Click on his link below. Check out his free offer for the Building the Business of Your Dreams ebook. Who wouldn't want to read that? With a title like that, it's got to be compelling, at least to take a look at it. This is Louis Lotman. Mr. Hublou, thank you very much, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.
All right.